Kenya as it is now. We have spent a lot of time in politicking and
the whole of 2017.
Yes,
precisely.
but raising positions which are neither here nor there. And over time, those positions have been so ardent that coming back to the middle has become an issue. But the other thing which we must focus on is this: we must not allow politicians to own our destiny as a country.
I'm just wondering how we don't allow these politicians.
What we must give politicians are political support, not for them to take it economic and social. Let us make them know that politically we support them, but socially we have other things to pursue as Kenyans.
Okay.
And we have things that unite us as a nation. Let us not degenerate to an extent whereby even when people fight over gambling or some other things, betting, we come asking, is it a political fight? When somebody is shot by gangs, instead of investigating the gangs who have shot at somebody, we investigate the issue of being political. I think we must take away that from that. And the other point is this: let us not make dialogue.
All right. The judges are just settling in, and I bet this will be a very short judgment. So we are here for the next probably 30 minutes. As soon as they begin, we'll go to court. But let's, gentlemen, stay with me. As soon as they're done, we'll be coming back. Look at that.
Welcome to the Supreme Court. Before the court this morning, coming up for judgment is Presidential Election Petition number 2 of 2017. Honorable John Harun Mau versus the IBC and 2 others, as consolidated with Petition 4 of 2017. John Mwe and another versus the Chairperson IBC and 3 others. You're welcome.
My Lord Chief Justice, my lords, my ladies, it is my pleasure to introduce the quorum, and I'll be brief by just saying that our quorum today is as it has been during the arguments on the 2 petitions.
Good morning. Thank you, Honorable Attorney General, for that introduction. Two petitions were filed on the 6th of November 2017, both challenging the election of Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta as President of the Republic of Kenya. Their petition numbers 2, which was filed by Honorable Harun Mau, and the number 4, which was filed by 2 voters, Mr. Njonjo Mwe and Mr. Khalif. Because of the time pressure, the 2 petitions were consolidated and heard together. But the parties were each allowed to submit on the issues which they raised in their respective petitions separately. The judges of this court thereafter retired to deliberate upon the issues raised in those petitions, which we want to summarize as follows. Before I summarize the issues, we were left with like 2 days after the hearing. So it was basically impossible to write a full judgment. What I'm going to read this morning is a determination of the judges have reached on those 2 petitions. Petition number 2 raised the following issues. Whether the first respondent was required to conduct fresh nominations prior to the presidential election held on the 26th of October 2017, and what steps were required to be undertaken, if at all. That's issue number 1. Issue number 2, were the nominations conducted for the presidential candidates for the elections held on 8th August 2017 valid after the nullification of that presidential election by the Supreme Court in its decision delivered on 1st of September 2017. When were the elections held on the 8th of August 2017 deemed to have been concluded? Did another electoral cycle commence? Issue number 3, what is the impact, if at all, of the defined time frame provided under Article 140, sub-Article 3 of the Constitution for the holding of a fresh election on the conduct of nominations? How is this comparable with the other forms of presidential elections contemplated in the Constitution? Issue number 4, what is the effect of a declaration of invalidity of the presidential election under Article 140 of the Constitution? What are the criteria for qualifying candidates to participate in a fresh election? Number 5, are the first and the second respondents guilty of disobedience of the Supreme Court order to conduct the fresh election strictly in accordance with the Constitution and the applicable law? Those are the issues raised in petition number 2. In petition number 3, number 4, these are the issues that were raised in that petition. What is the locus standi of the petitioners? And are they persons in terms of Article 140, sub-Article 1 of the Constitution? That is, are they persons entitled to file a petition? And if so, are their petitions properly filed as public interest litigations? Number 2, what is the legal effect of the withdrawal of a presidential election candidate before election? Did any of the presidential candidates validly or properly withdraw from the presidential election held on the 26th of October 2017? Number 3, did the first and second respondents conduct the presidential election held on the 26th of October 2017 in strict conformity with the Constitution and the applicable laws? Number 4, did the election conducted on the 26th October 2017 meet the constitutional threshold of a free and fair election under Article 81 of the Constitution? Number 5, what are the legal consequences of not holding a presidential election in each constituency under Article 138(2) of the Constitution? Are the results declared thereon valid? Was the presidential election held on the 26th of October 2017 marred with the illegalities and irregularities? If yes, what are the effects of these on the validity of the elections? Number 6, what is the effect of the Elections into brackets Amendment Act 2017 on the conduct of the presidential election held on the 26th of October 2017? Is Section 83 of the Elections Act as amended unconstitutional? Number 8, was the election held on the 26th of October 2017 and its results legitimate and credible both in law and in fact? Lastly, what orders should the court issue, including orders on costs? Those are the issues raised in the two petitions. Having carefully considered the above issues, the specific prayers in each petition, as well as the Constitution and the applicable laws, the court has unanimously determined that the petitions are not merited, and the final orders pursuant to Article 140 sub-Article 2 of the Constitution, as read with Rule 22 of the Supreme Court Presidential Election Petition Rules 2017 are as follows. Petition number 2 of 2017 by Honorable John Aaron Mwau versus the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission and 2 others as consolidated is hereby dismissed. Petition number 4 of 2017, Njonjo Mue and another versus the chairperson of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission and 3 others as consolidated is also hereby dismissed. As a consequence, the presidential election of the 26th October is hereby upheld, as is the election of the 3rd respondent. Each party shall bear its own costs. As I have stated, a detailed reasoned judgment shall be issued within 21 days of this determination in conformity with Rule 23 of the Supreme Court Presidential Election Petition Rules 2017.
My lords, on behalf of counsel appearing before you in these 2 petitions on both sides, we want to thank you very much for the hard work you have put into your judgment over a weekend, and you are much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, some breaking news now. President Uhuru Kenyatta was validly elected in the October 26th general election, or repeat election. So the election of President Kenyatta on the 26th with 7.4 million votes has been upheld by the Supreme Court, not based on what was canvassed in court, but based on merit of the petition. So the petitions have been thrown out based on the lack of merit. There was no merit in this petition. So basically, the court has not considered every input that was given in this before the judges, but based on merit. And gentlemen, I dare say this was the submission of Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi. I dare say.
Absolutely.
Let me start with you, Simeha,
yes.
on merit.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, no, well, quite surprising for me because I was mentally, I was prepared to hear that the court will make a decision on the basis of what was canvassed, the issues raised, for or against these petitions. But, you realize the importance of the technicalities in law. And I believe this is issue number 1 for the petition number 4. That is Khalef Khalifa and Njonjo Mue's locus standi under Article 141 of the Constitution. 141 actually, of the Constitution, yes, 141. Who may petition? And what kind of petition in terms of does it meet the rules, the Supreme Court of Kenya rules for presidential petitions? And basically here the court saying that no, answering no to both those questions.
Yes.
So my curiosity now would be, of course, to see the reason judgment, to see on why these petitions have fallen. Not necessarily in terms of the issues, because that would have also been very interesting, because I believe there were some very
There were so many issues that were brought out, almost 14 issues.
So one wishes and one hopes that the court will explain to us why the petitions fail, and then also give us some responses to the issues that the legal issues that those petitions raise.
All right, we're waiting for Andrew Cheng, who is at the Supreme Court. Those are the reactions from inside the Supreme Court as the advocates for both sides, basically the ones that were responding in this petition, are happy with the outcome. Andrew Cheng is outside the court. We'll be speaking to him. And let me go to Oliver. Oliver, merit, purely on merit.
I think, first of all, the 2 petitions raised very weighty issues. which as I joined Sumeha in saying I would like to see the full text and to see how most of these issues have been canvassed and how the court will give their verdict. But the other thing is that it was not lost on every observer that how the case was prosecuted had issues. And I think that is where the main issue is. But in terms of merit, I think the case did not bring out the main issues that was worth the nullification of an election petition.
All right, Jack.
Supreme Court world over political courts. And on the 1st of September 2017, they decided the presidential petition purely on points of law. I mean, if you looked at if they went for the letter of the law, probably they would have nullified this presidential petition, number 3 and number 4. But probably they were looking at, in law there are some things, when you go to law, there are certain things called priors. I don't know, Wakil, you know them?
Yes, yes.
These priors, there are certain things that are outside the petition, outside the law. Things like social stability, you know, the political situation of a society, the realities that abound at the time the decision is made. So probably the Supreme Court look at the priors, the social stability, the political situation of the country, economic stability, and so on and so forth, and decided to go for a political decision other than a legal decision. But of course, I am also eager to look at how they address each and every issue from number 1 to number 14 after the 21 days. I do hope that we get this judgment before that time,
that's
so that
we can, 11th of next month.
we can peruse it.
Yes.
But I believe this was a political decision other than a legal decision.
But that's the work of the Supreme Court,
yes,
as a political court. Wakili Kurgan, then I'll come to
Thank you very much. I think the pendulum swing has swung the opposite direction this time round. There will be happiness all over the place for those who supported Jubilee, and complete anger and disillusionment in other regions which did not expect that this petition will go the way it has gone, the two petitions rather. Now, my view is this. When we were listening to the proceedings during the hearing of the petitions, you could see that the quality of the pleadings, you could see the quality of the submissions were not up to spec, unlike they were in the August case, where the issues that were canvassed by parties, especially the petitioner, were far much stronger. They were able to articulate issues that were necessary to be articulated. And I believe what has happened this time around is that the petitioners has met their Waterloo on account of one thing. In 2013, for example, the issue of lockers was not discussed at length because, one, I don't think it was raised, or it was ignored by the court. Because one of the petitioners, of course, was a voter.
I will cut you short. Yes. Let's just go to the location for some reactions from the Supreme Court. We'll be back.
We agree with its decision. Thank you.
All right, some of the reactions from outside the Supreme Court. Andrew is still on standby there. We'll be speaking to Andrew, but I was speaking to Wakili as we wait for them to get a reaction. All right, there's a reaction.
That's all I can say. Thank you very much. Yeah. It's not victory for an individual, it's victory for the Republic. Yeah, it's the will of God. Yeah. How do you feel happiness? It's not happiness as an individual, it's happiness as a nation. Yeah, we should put this behind us now. Thank you.
Well, there you go, Ken. Just trying to get reactions from different lawyers here at the precincts of the Supreme Court. It is a busy environment, and right now here is the majority leader in the National Assembly, Aden Duale, who we can just hopefully get to hear from in a few minutes.
The judges have made their decision. We are very, very happy with that decision. I think Kenya, the last 2 months, has gone through serious constitutional procedures as anchored in our laws. And I think the right time that we embark on the swearing in of the president as per the constitution next Tuesday, 28th. And then Kenya moves forward. We unite the people. And President Uhuru Kenyatta continues with his transformation agenda for the next 5 years.
What do you mean by uniting the people? What specific things are you looking for to uniting the people?
Absolutely. Every election, after every election, heavily and bitterly contested, there are fallouts among the ranks and the file of the citizens. And it is the role of each and every government and every president to make sure that he carries everybody, those who voted for him and those who didn't vote for him. That's what I mean.
So how do you reach out to your colleagues from the opposition side? Because that divide is there even in parliament.
The constitution has provided the mechanism and the infrastructure in uniting the country, bringing equity across all regions of our country. Devolution is one of the institutions that will unite our people, and that by giving it more resources and by giving it more powers. Parliament is another arm of government that the many shades of the leadership of our country meet. So there are many forums provided for in law to unite the people.
Now, many people have criticized the context under which the Supreme Court arrived at that verdict, with some claims of intimidation of judicial officers, including that attack on the bodyguard of the Deputy Chief Justice. Do you think this was...
The judiciary in our country is independent. On 1st of September we were here, and the win of President Uhuru Kenyatta was invalidated. We believe in the rule of law and we believe in constitutionalism. We went back as ordered by the court within 60 days. On the 26th of October, Kenyans went to the polls, and in their thousands and millions, they elected President Uhuru Kenyatta. His win was challenged again, as provided for in our constitution. And today we are happy that following the due process, the win of the president now has been validated by the Supreme Court in an unanimous decision.
You've spoken of devolution and parliament, but these do not sort of involve the main players in the opposition, Raila Odinga and other senior leaders who are not in these platforms. How would you intend to reach them as the Jubilee Party?
Raila Odinga and his colleagues participated in the Constitution of Kenya 2010 that removed presidential contenders from being in parliament. So it is the Constitution. It is not a design by anybody. And through the leadership, the minority leadership in the House, and through the majority leadership in the House, and other stakeholders, there are forums provided for by the Constitution in making sure that Kenya moves forward and Kenya joins the League of Nations that respect constitutionalism and the rule of law.
Labda mwisho, haya yanayoendelea nchini yanakugusa?
Yale yanaendelea nchini ni kawaida, ni hali ya siasa na viongozi, na mimi ningewauliza viongozi wote wa mrengo zote wahubiri amani, wahubiri umoja na wahubiri kuleta Wakenya pamoja katika wakati huu wa msimu wa kisiasa.
Thank you, Dr. Ken, we're looking forward to getting reactions from other lawyers, Jubilee lawyers. Of course, Ekuru Aukot is also here. Maybe if we could just get a reaction from him.
Dismissing the two petitions against the October 26th repeat call.
Okay. First of all, we are very pleased with the outcome of the Supreme Court. As you too well know that this court has demonstrated its independence, regardless of political pressure, regardless of where the pressures are coming from. And it's just a testament to the fact that the political class, as we have said before, cannot be the election court. Only a court of law can make a determination as to the merits and demerits of a particular case. And I think the Supreme Court, for the second time again, has demonstrated that it can uphold its independence and do the right thing. They did that on the 1st of September when they annulled the election of President Uhuru Kenyatta. They have done that again now. On the 20th, when they have actually dismissed all those petitions, regardless of what the political class was doing out there, trying to intimidate the judiciary and the rest. Secondly, this is also a confirmation to us, of course, as a political party, that we have always been on the right side of history. We will stand with Kenyans and do the right thing. This is for us an act of patriotism. on the 8th, after the 8th of August, we stood alongside the people who believed that, and as we did also, that the election of 8th August was marred with a lot of irregularities and illegalities, and we made our contribution as patriotic Kenyans, regardless of the political pressure. Again, today, we stood with the team that says that the election of October 26th was actually done in accordance with the law, and because we believed that the law had been violated after the 8th August election, and therefore what happened on the 26th of October was in accordance with the Constitution. And therefore, as I say, I think Third Way Alliance has proved that it can stand on the right of law. We remain patriotic, we'll make our contribution. We actually make that history as part of this country, and we hope that now Kenya can actually move forward. And those people who are instigating, of course, political violence out of, the disputed election, that dispute is now over because the Supreme Court has pronounced itself. And I will also say this, that, it is unfortunate that we are not able to put this election behind, but I think with this determination right now, this morning by the Supreme Court, we can now move to more serious stuff. And as I promised, our party will now check the government, will now put the government into check. Of course, I also want to thank my able lawyer, Elias Mutuma, who is here with me, who fought so gallantly, fought all the big, short so-called lawyers in the Supreme Court, and we demonstrate that our contribution is not something you can sweep under the carpet.
We are trying to get one of the other lawyers here. I see Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi, and probably looking if he can give us a word. Could we have a word with you, sir? Yes, we are live on air. Just your reaction to the judgment that has been given today.
And I think it's a good judgment for the country. It has brought to an end, the election nearing process. That chapter is now closed. It's the time now for the country to move. It's for the time for, Uhuru, His Excellency, to build his government, and those who are in the opposition to provide, a proper opposition, effective opposition, and for Kenyans to realize that this is a process that eventually had to come to an end, and that it ended today.
Do you feel that in dismissing the petitions, the judges could have probably given at least a hint of a reason on why the whole panel unanimously dismissed all of them?
You see, now we are wiser now. We know that it's not possible to write a judgment of this nature within, the 2 days or 1 day they had. So they have 21 days. They will write a proper judgment, and I'm sure at that time we will see the reasons why this occurred.
Are you happy? Do you feel happy that your client was victorious?
No, we were right the first time. This is a judgment. In my respectful view, they should have delivered on 1st of September, in terms of everything really. It has come late, it has come at a great cost, it has for the country and everybody. But I'm glad that the second time they got it right.
Do you feel that the country will move forward as a result of today's judgment?
You see, Kenyans should know that election is a process provided for in the Constitution. There are winners and there are losers. Unfortunately, if you don't abide by the result, you take yourself outside the legal process. But in my view, now that this process is over, I think Kenyans, should come together. Kenyans should build their country. And, there's always a second chance. There's 2022, for those guys who will be around, for those guys who have the means. But Kenyans must realize that you play by the books and you accept the result as provided for by the books. Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That is Senior Counsel Ken Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi just giving his views on the ruling that has been given. We will try to move around again to just get some reactions again. It is a bit chaotic here with journalists everywhere and lawyers everywhere and politicians also everywhere just trying to synthesize the ruling and what has been given today. That is the majority leader in the Senate, Kipchumba Murkomen. We will just try to also get a reaction from him on what he thinks about the ruling that has been given today.
The next move is to form government. The president is sworn in. He will immediately form government, and thereafter this country moves forward And those who are still feel like they have the energy to run, we can meet them again in the contest of 2022. What I can tell you is that Jubilee government is going to focus on implementation of its manifesto and tapping into the last term of President Uhuru Kenyatta, which will be focusing more on legacy. You know, establishing a government that is going to leave a lasting legacy for so many years for the president.
Are you likely to be more ruthless this year?
Ruthless in terms of?
Okay. We've been getting a mixed reaction from some of your members saying that President Kenyatta must now be in charge of the country.
He has been in charge of the country. I think what people are looking for is he going to be to use more force in terms of protecting property and lives? I think that there are enough departments of government that are going to do that job. It's not about force, it's about intellect, it's about implementation of the Constitution, it's not about using force. And I believe that the president is going to apply all wisdom necessary to ensure that we live in a more peaceful country. I also believe that Raila Odinga, in the absence of the radicals around him, is a well-meaning Kenyan. I think he was misled by individuals who lied to him that they are going to deliver no elections on October 26. Now that he has come to the realization of the fact that that was a lie, he must quickly run away from the misadvice he's receiving from radical individuals who have nothing to lose. People are living in high offices, people are living in the suburbs of Nairobi. They don't understand what people are going through in Kondele, in Mathare, in Kibera, in Mukuru, and Kayaba, Waruben, Wanjenga. I mean, all those people must now pull back. The former Prime Minister must go back to a statesman's position and be part of the solution in terms of moving our country forward. And we will listen to every suggestion he has, because we have the institutions in government that are going to do that. If he wants to sit with President Kenyatta, I'll say, why not? If he wants to sit with Deputy President, why not? Now it will be about sitting together to discuss matters of moving the country forward, not about elections. Elections is gone. The next elections will be August 9th, 2022, and the candidates of that time will appear. What is important now is for us to build a nation that is going to bring this country together. I really want to say that there are people who say we are in government and why are we blaming opposition on this narrative about negative ethnicity? I think this negative ethnicity and the narrative that says, you know, Mount Kenya region is in office, Rift Valley is in office, so and so has been, it's a narrative that is tired. President Uhuru Kenyatta is in office as an individual, not on behalf of his tribe. William Ruto is in vice deputy president on his own. And Raila Odinga is a leader of opposition on his own, not his tribe. This conversation that has actually been driven towards this tribe must come to an end, because the Constitution recognizes that an individual is elected, not his tribe. And the most important thing is to ask Kenyans that, would we fight for you in the same way you are trying to kill yourselves in slums on behalf of politicians? I think that is an issue that we must bring it to an end. And this thing of electoral circle all the time, mandamano, street fights, must really come to an end. Let us go back to leadership. Let's go back to delivery of our people. Governor Nyanyongo, Governor Joho, Governor Mandago, Governor Sang, Governor Sonko, deliver services for people. It's no longer time for mandamano in our cities. It is time for us to ensure that the people get services.
What is the government going to do about the use of force and the deaths that have just happened in the recent days?
The Deputy President said yesterday that investigations are going to be carried out to establish the persons who have perpetrated that kind of violence. And if they are found to be in opposition elements, they must be disciplined. If they are found to be within the police must take action. And you know, police oversight authority is also there to ensure that everybody is brought into justice. So we're not going to condone violence, because the greater responsibility is with government. But it is also the responsibility of every Kenyan to ensure that you report, you don't incite people. People have the following. Raila Odinga, nobody denies that he has a huge following, the second to the following that Uhuru Kenyatta has. And with that kind of following, you have greater responsibility. You cannot really throw people under the bus for purpose of getting office. The same way Uhuru Kenyatta cannot throw people under the bus to maintain power. So all of us have responsibility, but the apparatus of state, like the police, must do their job, but do it with a lot of responsibility.
Well, Ken, there you have it, the reaction of the politicians also. But also just getting outside, there are people who are celebrating, and this chants and the singing have already started with people celebrating the Supreme Court verdict that has been given today. We will try to just go and try to get some of those pictures for you, just outside the presence of the Supreme Court. Of course, carrying placards that the placards had been here earlier on, and the celebrations, of course, have begun here with supporters of Uhuru Kenyatta just chanting outside the Supreme Court here, celebrating the ruling by the Chief Justice and the judges of the Supreme Court upholding the re-election of President Uhuru Kenyatta. So these are the scenes here at the Supreme Court with celebrations after the judgment. Ken?
Right, Andrew Cheng from the Supreme Court speaking to us. We have a split screen for you from outside the Supreme Court in Korogosho, in Kisumu, where there is some unrest already at the back of the ruling that happened about 27 minutes ago. We also have a reaction from Nyeri, where obviously there must be celebrations at the back of this upholding of the president's election. And in Korogosho, there's some reaction. We'll be speaking to Steve Juma, and in Kisumu, we'll try and get Oko Kusa once again to speak to him. And outside the Supreme Court, Andrew is there for us at the back of the breaking news that the court has upheld the election of President Uhuru Kenyatta because the petitions that were presented before the Supreme Court lacked merit. Let me bring this to my panel once again. And Muduma, I haven't spoken to you about it. As a political analyst, you told me earlier that speaking to lawyers, you could well see where the Supreme Court was headed.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I told you to be a unanimous decision based on the validity. And that's what it has come down to. When you look at the...
It's not come down to the validity.
No. If you look at everything, the umbrella was this election. Was it the issue of legality, rather not validity?
No, it's not legality too.
No.
It's not legality.
The questions...
It's on the merit of the petitions. Did these guys have a standing to present these petitions
And
before?
if you look at the whole scenario, did they comply? That was what it came down to. And actually, I was trying to ask the very same questions you're asking. What about this? What about the nomination? What about this? What about... And these guys were telling me it will come down to, was the entire platform fair? Did it hit the threshold of fairness? And I think that's why the unanimous decision has come to play. So, but against, I mean, we have to wait for the
reason ruling.
For us to be able to. But just going by some of the notions that have come in, everything else, Leonola actually made a very good, not a very good, but he made a very legal remark the other day when he was telling, I can't remember who it was, but I think it was somebody from John Mwe team. And this is what he said. He said, it is the court that ordered you to do an election. It is us who will determine the fairness of it. It is not you. So I think what he was trying to direct is there was a directive that we said go do this and this, and I think that's what has not been followed. But I think, Ken, there's something else that we need to bring into play. And I've had so many people talking about it, and I've had politicians mention. But I think the truth of the matter and what we and why we stand here today is to move and break away now from what we've just finished. And it's more like what happened after the August 8th election. I was telling people, okay, celebrate the win, but don't rub it in. It's the very same thing I'll tell Jubilee, the guys who are, jumping around and the people we are seeing celebrating. It is okay to celebrate, but don't rub it in. Remember, we still have a lot of work as Kenyans ahead of us. And that not only it. Wakili mentioned the fact that we have been on this journey for a year and plus. Gambia has done their elections, they found us there. Germany finished their election. Rwanda finished their election. Nigeria the same. And everybody has moved on. So I think it is the high time When I say depoliticizing the issue, I am not saying we divorce politics out of the grand scheme of things, but I'm saying let us tone down the political rhetoric, because I don't think at this point we are looking for a political solution. What we are looking for is Kenyans moving forward. And how do they move forward? I think the cohesion and reconciliation must come to play. I would really want to see what the president will do at this point. Whether he'll bring in his soft what we call the software issues, reaching out to the other coalition, you know, because at the end of the day, if, you know, the swearing in goes well, everything as supposed to go, he has a responsibility and he has a duty to do, and that is to make all the millions that he promised, the 45 plus millions, understand that he is still their president, and he is alive to the fact that there are divisions in this country, and as a nation, he has to lead from the front to unite this country.
I think, Muduma, it might surprise us that in the detailed ruling, actually most of these issues that were canvassed might just have been approved by even the requests, the prayers that they were asking the court. They might have just granted them. But the issue here that it seems you're evading is this case has been decided on one thing. The 4 individuals, the 3 individuals who presented the petitions, did they have merit? Could they stand before the court and present this petition, or they did not? And based on that, the court has ruled.
Remember, it's unanimous.
Yes.
Decision.
It's a unanimous decision. It's not in contention.
Element of weight.
Yes.
Like I was telling you, there is a weighty issue of, and whether we like it or not, there is the element of legality. When we are told, do this within this parenthesis, let it be within, and Ken, that's why I need us to be alive to it.
All right.
Did it move, or did it pinch into that particular threshold?
Jack.
Well, remember that locus standi was just one issue. A raft of issues existed, I mean, just about 14 of them. And before we get that judgment, the reasoned judgment, we are not aware on what basis the petitions were dismissed. And having said that, and there's something called social foundations of law. That when you get to a law class, the first thing you are told that law does not exist in a brooding vacuum.
Right.
That it is a social contract. So if they look at the people who are making laws, the people who are interpreting the law, look at the society and how the society is, is placed at that time. And I said that my considered view was that the court looked at the priors instead of the issues, the legal issues. And one of the priors would be, if, for instance, the petition was nullified, what would have happened?
Okay.
What are the political realities in terms of the stability of this nation, and probably the judges themselves? I mean, I would be making a very alarming statement that, are they safe in the first place if they had nullified the petition, or their families and so on and so forth? So the reality was such that there was no other way to do it than what they have actually done. And that is a political decision. It is never a legal decision. And it's a political decision to the extent that the law, even interpretation thereof, does not exist in a brooding vacuum, but rather the realities as pertains the society at the time the decision is made.
Okay. I need to speak to Kurgat, then I'll come to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ken. I think the decision by the Supreme Court today underlines various factors, one of which is, as we may not agree here, that there are legal issues that were considered by the Supreme Court. But I think the Supreme Court is not acting in vain. It has already gone through the petition, it went through the petitions, and has found that it didn't have any merit. When they say it didn't have any merit, means that they did not find any grounds that would have annulled the October 26th election. After finding that, then the next raft of issues then that follow is that it is a downhill process, because the moment you determine that it did not meet the requirements of rejecting the elections, then the next thing that will happen is that everything falls by the wayside, and this is exactly what has happened. The issue of lockers, and I want to revisit it because it is necessary, because in 2013, I was saying, before you came into the air from the Supreme Court, I was saying that in 2013, the issue of lockers was not discussed sufficiently by the Supreme Court. Just like they left other issues then, you find that AFRICOG had filed a petition as a party. Yet it could not have been a voter as known in the law. And the arguments that were put forward by Ahmed Nasir, the senior counsel, on behalf of the president, were very valid arguments in terms of determining. And this one has put the record straight so that in future we know exactly. We'll